Welcome in, Believe in Commanders podcast, part of the Believe Network. We are brought to you by FanDuel. Please like, comment, and follow us. Scott Jackson, and that is number 13, former Washington Redskin Anthony Armstrong over there. Yes, and the man in the middle is Dynasty Zack, a fantasy football insider who joins us to talk all things fantasy and Commanders related, and, of course, getting you ready for your drafts. We're a few weeks away from drafts. How you guys doing?
I'm doing good. Glad to have Dynasty Zack here. So Zack made his way, randomly enough, I had a mention on X. and I for a while, and I'm like, who the hell are these people? I don't know. And I learned that I could scroll up in the conversation and see where it came from. And there was this random statistic, and that Zack may remember it still. It was talking about rookie receivers.
Yeah, first-year receivers, I think, to get 800 or more yards without being drafted. I think you were one of 3 ever.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that was pretty cool. And somebody tagged me, and I was like, man, we got to going back and forth. And it was like, why don't you come on the show? So here he is. He's on the show joining us. And I was like, look, I got a fantasy draft coming up here in 10 days. In 10 days. And I was like, let's get Zack on here. Let's find out who we need to go with. All right. So we're going to start out with the running back position. It's running back by committee. Okay. Now, Commanders wide, if you have to go Commanders wide, I wonder who you have in that room, because there have been some recent additions and a change to the offense. Yeah. Probably going to be more of a pass catching thing. Do you have any Commanders players on your running back list?
I think I don't know if he goes by Bill or Jakori Cross.
Yeah,
Bill.
I go with Bill usually. I have Bill higher than consensus probably. He's currently going outside the top 100 picks in redraft leagues. So from what I've seen, I'd probably pick him around there. He's a good guy. He's going to get touches this year. Sounds like from camp reports that he's increasing his role in the passing game, and especially with White out right now, although I think White's going to be fine. I didn't see any indication from any of the insiders that he's going to have a long-term injury. Obviously, White's been a great receiving back for the last few years. He's one of only a few backs to have 200 targets in the last few years. So he's going to have a role, but I think Bill takes on a bigger role than last year.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you there. I agree with that. That's interesting that you bring, because White's been one of these guys. He's been on the cusp, right, of being a 1, but he's more of a 2. Maybe even a 3 in some weeks. And Tampa was kind of a frustrating play sometimes. But even when it looked like he was going to be the main guy, he never really grabbed it by the horn. So how do you kind of treat him? I guess, does it matter to you if it's PPR or non-PPR? Because as you just mentioned, he's more of a pass catcher.
I think in a PPR league, White's still worth grabbing in the later rounds. He's a guy that'll probably get you enough points off the bench just to plug and play. I think people forget, only a few years back, he was one of the top running backs in the league, at least in fantasy. 2023, I think he was a RB 1 through 5 or something. So it's tough to forget that he was that impactful at one point. He just had Bucky Irving come in and had a share. And even the last 2 years with Bucky there, he was playing. He was playable for at least a couple weeks a year. He's a guy you can stash on your bench, but I'd lean Bill for now. And don't forget Katron Allen.
Yeah, Katron Allen. He'd be the finisher. Yeah, Fat Man would be that finisher right near the goal line.
He might have an end of season role, you know?
Yeah.
A couple guys go down, he'd be a bell cow.
I like that. Sure. I like that. Overall, just league wide, right? You mentioned the consensus. Who's your top running back? There's a lot to choose from. So is it Saquon? Is it Bijan?
I've got Gibbs.
Gibbs
is my number 1 running back in fantasy this year. I think he's set up for the most success. If it's not Gibbs, it's Bijan. I think those two guys are interchangeable. I understand when people have the other side of the opinion. Sure. Outside of them, there's a lot of running backs that fit different tiers. The other guy I think that could jump up this year that people keep pushing down is Jeanty. I think Ashton Jeanty is a beast, and he's going to be set up for success this year.
Yeah.
Where do you see Christian McCaffrey? Are you concerned about this injury talk early?
Yeah.
I mean, people are speculating he might be like a hold in. We don't really know what's happening there. How do you kind of treat Christian McCaffrey?
I mean, Shanahan doesn't give a lot of information, so it's tough to really gauge how they're really feeling about the moment. But coming off of 450 touches last year, I'm not touching McCaffrey in any league, any variety. I don't care what the rules are. You could give me 10 points per catch. I'm not doing it.
Really? Interesting.
I can't touch McCaffrey. I'm afraid of it. I'll let someone else win with McCaffrey if I'm wrong. I'm comfortable being wrong. I won't touch a guy coming off 450 touches. That's chances of him playing a full season are slim.
You're not crazy. I mean, look at the drop off from Barkley from a year ago, right? I don't know what
look at Jonathan Taylor from a couple years ago,
Jonathan Taylor, yeah. I mean, it happens. Even the greatest guys in the, we've seen like even a guy like Adrian Peterson off his 2,000-yard season that year had a big drop. So I'm with you, man. That's the way I kind of look at it too. If you have,
I'm taking notes over here, man.
Look, the history says for running backs says anybody who comes off of a 370 touch season is going to decline the next year. There's been 2 guys ever who were the same or better the following year, and it was Terrell Davis and Clinton Portis. So outside of those 2 guys,
in Denver,
everybody else got at least a little bit worse after 370.
Wow. So what do you think after we get to the who's who? You mentioned Jonathan Taylor. Kind of where is he, and where are maybe some value guys that you maybe can wait on a little bit because people aren't going to be like jumping on him in the first round?
I mean, I'm a big Kyren Williams guy. He's been top 10 each of the last 3 years. I know he's in the second or third round, depending on your league. He's a guy that I think is a value, even with Corum there. Corum might be driving his price down. I don't think Corum actually changes his output. I think that Rams offense is good enough to support 1.5 running backs a game.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think Chase Brown's probably moved up a lot now rather than a month ago when people were drafting him a little lower. He's another guy who's going to catch a lot of passes. He might have a big role in that offense. Those are guys I'd be targeting in the second and third round if you're going running back. If you're going to go later on running backs, I like Travis Etienne. He's going in the 4th or 5th round I've seen recently, especially now with the Kamara news. He should be jumping up boards. But I don't think Kamara, healthy or not healthy, was impacting Etienne's bell cow status this year as much as people think.
Well, they paid him money. Obviously, they gave him the money to come in there, so you got to figure he's going to be the
guy. He's one of the highest paid backs now.
Kamara. Yeah, exactly. We're here with Dynasty Zack talking fantasy football, Believe in Commanders, brought to you by FanDuel, part of the Believe Network. Scott Jackson and Anthony Armstrong. I know we do feel like we have a couple Commanders wide receiver wise that have some value. Kind of where do you see Terry McLaurin and now Stefon Diggs?
I think Terry's gonna have a big year. I'm pretty excited about his role in this offense. You've seen how they talk about him over the offseason. They're definitely hyped to have a big year from Terry. They want him on every play. I think Diggs plays the role that Diggs has played the last couple of years, which is every one of those underneath routes and out routes and short routes. He's the best at those. He's going to catch those passes. He's probably going to get a lot of targets. I think Diggs hurts the Antonio Williams breakout that I was hoping for. I've been very high on Antonio Williams all offseason. His camp clips are even incredible too. But I think Diggs delays the breakout a little bit. I still think he's going to be a great NFL receiver. It's just probably not this year.
Okay, I could see it being a mentor role thing.
Yeah,
and over there on FanDuel, if you find it at the right time, you may find some rookie wide receiver numbers. And they had Antonio around, I wanted to say it was close to around 800 or so. But bringing in Stefon Diggs, obviously you would say they probably hurt those numbers, bringing it down a little bit, and sharing with Chig Okonkwo.
Let's not think about Chig. What do you?
Yeah, go ahead. Well, you can go tight end wide, but let's talk about Chig. Where do you have him in relation to other tight ends?
Chig is one of 6 tight ends in the NFL to have at least, I think it was 50 catches or 70 targets or one of those 2 over the last 3 years. It's like him, Dalton Schultz, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, and Trey McBride. And Jake Ferguson.
Not bad to be around.
No.
It's a short list of guys who find ways to earn the ball. I think Chig's going to be bigger this year than he was on the Titans. I think he played with some pretty rebuilding Titans teams. I think this team is a lot more set up for success, and I think he's going to have a good year. Do I think he's going to be a top whatever tight end? I've seen people put him really high. I think he's probably around the tight end 10 to 15 range at the end of the year. I see some of the history with Jayden Daniels, with Zach Ertz in the red zone. I think that could be good for Chig, but Chig's a little bit more of a vertical threat tight end than a red zone threat tight end. More like Isaiah Likely than Mark Andrews,
Right.
More exciting plays.
Yeah.
Right. And Diggs may take up those red zone plays, moving the chains kind of like Ertz did.
Yep.
What about the big picture with the wide receivers? I mean, is it the usual suspects, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson? Are you scared off by Kyler Murray? Is he increased by Kyler Murray? Like, how do you look at that?
I think with 9 last year, it's really tough to hate Justin Jefferson now because Kyler made Hopkins pretty good. Right. It's hard to look back at what Kyler did with the Cardinals and say, that won't translate to the Vikings. I think Jefferson's a top 5 receiver this year, probably top 7 at worst. I think he returns to form. I think Jamar Chase is receiver 1 overall. I think he returns to that. I like guys like Puka and JSN. I think they're somewhere in that top 10 to 12 range at the worst, but obviously with the right season, they'll end up top 5 again. But I have a couple guys lower down the list that could easily jump. It's hard to really rule out guys like AJ Brown. He's been a beast for years. Now joining the Patriots, he could jump up into the top 5. Yeah. Look at Jalen Waddle. They just traded a first for him. I think he's a target I'm taking mid rounds of the draft for sure. Teams that trade a first for receivers those receivers tend to do great that year. Look at Stefon Diggs. I mean, DJ Moore's on that list now too, but I'm not as hyped on DJ Moore. I think the Bills spread the ball around a little bit.
Yeah, I think they play a little bit too much Superman ball, and DJ is going to get lost in the sauce. He'll make his plays, but I don't think they're going to highlight him that much. How do big free agent acquisitions translate to having success in fantasy ball? Like I'm thinking like an Alec Pierce, right, or Romeo Dobbs, the folks that we were clamoring for, even Mike Evans, we were clamoring for in Washington. We missed out on it. How do they translate?
I think Alec Pierce with the injury stuff, I'm staying away from. He profiles as more of a deep threat receiver than a 150 target receiver. When I'm drafting receivers in my fantasy drafts, I'm looking for guys who can get the most targets. That's the one thing I care about. Guys like Christian Watson this year are primed to blow up, but prior to this year, they've been seen as Alec Pierce types, which is I'm going to run downfield and catch a 20-yard pass. And that's good for certain weeks, but it's not great for over the season. Unless you're Jameson Williams, in which case it seems to be great for the last couple of years. I think looking at guys like Mike Evans, veteran acquisitions, those tend to stay basically what they were before. If Mike Evans doesn't get hurt, he's probably a top 15 receiver. If he gets hurt like he has the last few years, it's hard to know.
Yeah.
I think there's some young receivers that people are leaving on the boards a little bit. Like Luther Burden, he can jump up. I know he jumped up a lot, but in that Bears offense, he could be a focal point. I think Emeka Egbuka, even coming off of this toe injury, he could get 150, 170 targets. It's hard to – he's the one now. Evans is gone. He's looked incredible in camp. He could be a guy. He could be a top 10 receiver this year.
How about defensively? All right, Commanders were garbage last year. Let's be real. Bouncing back this year. Some leagues have defenses. Some leagues have defensive players. I don't know how you feel about that, but – how do you feel about the Commanders defense? And is that somebody that, you would probably try to add to your list if you were in a league with defenses?
Part of my hype on the Commanders offense is that their defense is not very good. So they're going to be playing from behind some games, or they're going to be in some shootouts some games, and they're going to put up more points that way. The offense is great. They have a very good offense set up, but their defense is going to let up points. I think they've made some good defensive acquisitions, but they're going to let up points. So they're probably a year or two away from a good defense again.
Who's your top defense then?
I would say Texans or the Rams. One of those two is the top defense in the NFL and probably in fantasy.
Dynasty Zack with us, talking fantasy football. Scott Jackson and Anthony Armstrong, part of the Believe Network. We are brought to you by FanDuel here in Believe in Commanders. Please like, comment, and follow the podcast. We appreciate that, where you find your better podcasts. All right, Zack, let's give the people what they want. Where do you have Jayden Daniels on your quarterbacks list, and how do you handle him in the overall picture of your draft as well?
He, in redraft, I would say he's my QB 5 or 6 overall.
Okay.
For people in dynasty leagues, he's my QB 3 overall. So if you're looking at long-term Jayden Daniels' career, I think he's incredible. I think he's going to continue to be incredible when healthy. Okay. But for redraft leagues this offseason, I'm taking him as he's probably 5th or 6th, maybe 7th quarterback, depending on your league settings on rushing.
And redraft is like every year you're picking a new squad. Dynasty is you're picking this team and you keep
it forever.
Some people, keep some guys for a bit. Yeah. What about the ADP on Jayden Daniels? Is it too early to tell? Because I know some people don't believe in drafting this early, but there are some nuts that have already drafted. I
think he's too low right now. I think people will draft him where he's at right now, and they'll win leagues because of it, because they're passing on. I've seen him going as QB 9 or 10 right now in some of these leagues, which just feels wrong. And a lot of the guys that I talk to have moved him up their rankings, but it's tough for me to see guys go ahead of him that I just don't think have the upside that he does.
Where do you have right now on your short list, like your top 3 QBs?
Top 3 quarterbacks is going to be Josh Allen every year. I think Lamar has to be top 3, assuming health. And I think probably 3rd this year is going to be Goff or Caleb.
Goff's been sneaky good, right, for a bunch of years now.
Yeah,
I don't know what people, especially if you're yardage league.
He's top 10 for the last 5 years or 4 years, I think. And this year he plays like his first 11 games in a dome, which is insane. Yeah. And Goff's average is like an extra 50 yards a game in a dome or something. So it's hard for me not to like the Lions offense this year. If they're playing that many games at home or in a dome early in the season, they're going to get a lot of points together. And they've been good the last few years already. I think this is the year where Goff blows up a little bit.
Right.
And then the Bears offense is just really exciting. It's hard not to like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to drop some like personal qualms and issues with players, man. And be like,
always tough, man.
Be like, I don't want to pick him. I just don't like him. It's like, he might be 50 more yards a game in a dome. Come on,
I hate
Jared.
this team, but dot. Well, let me ask you this too? How do you sort the Cowboys receiver situation? Last year, obviously George Pickens moved up in front of CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb also missed some time, but say both being equally healthy. How do you kind of sort between those two guys? Do you treat them both as wide receiver one?
I think CeeDee's the target earner of the guys. I think when they're both in the field, CeeDee does a better job of earning targets. Whether that's a truly measurable stat or not, I think it is. I think CeeDee will get more targets. I don't think Pickens is bad. This is like a Chase Higgins situation to me, where both guys are fantasy relevant and both guys are good, especially when healthy. If Dak stays healthy, that team has no offensive ceiling, although I doubt their defense a little bit. But it's one of those teams where you look at that offense and go, yeah, these two guys are going to produce. Jake Ferguson's produced the last few years too. And then Javonte comes in last year and he produced quite a bit as well. It's hard to see a downside with that offense, but obviously health has been the issue for the last however many years.
My last one, the most important position, Scott's favorite position battles, kickers. When the hell do you pick them? Is it too early? When is too early? And who are you going out for to get? It's like Brandon Aubrey, or who are you going for?
When I have done kickers in the past, I have asked my commissioner of my league if I am required to draft a kicker in the draft, knowing that I can pick one up before the first week.
Right.
I personally try not to draft a kicker at all. Or if I do, it's my last pick of the draft. I don't think people are good enough at differentiating between which kickers will put up fantasy points on a year-to-year basis, outside of the top guys, which are going way too early for kickers.
What's way too early? What's way too early?
I've seen Brandon Aubrey go in the 7th round.
Oh my God, that's terrible. Is it a kickers league or what?
That's what I asked. I'm like, is this like you have to play two kickers or like what's the deal? Nope. Normally,
the commissioner is Martin Anderson is commissioner of that league.
He might be.
Though, there's one of the leagues I've played in. They've had those things where it's like kind of like the UFL. You get an extra point for the distance of the kick. So they're probably
we have that, but it's still not worth it. Even if the guys who multiple 50s,
the best kicker is only a little bit better than the 10th best kicker, only a little bit better than the 15th, 20th best kicker. I would stream kickers. I once did a league where I picked up a different kicker each of the weeks of the season, and I won that league because I was just I was against even having kickers in the league at all.
Do you feel the same way about defense?
Defense, unless I get a top defense in a favorable round, I'm streaming defenses all year. I'm playing matchups. Matchups are just as valuable as having a good defense. Good defenses are consistent though, and they do make a difference. But if I can play against the worst offense most weeks of the year, I feel pretty good.
Yeah, I remember playing a season. Whoever played Cleveland, baby, that's where I was at.
You might want to do that again, by the way. You might want to do that again.
Some of these Deshaun Watson passes.
Yeah. Oh man, I love it, man. Right. That's all I got for you. I appreciate it. I got a page full of notes. I have a strategy going into my upcoming draft. That's Dynasty Zack. He has been kind enough to bless us with some information and some details, man. Let them know where they can follow you at. Is what at Dynasty Zack on
at Dynasty Zack on X. You hit me up there. I'll answer any fantasy questions for anybody who follows me.
Awesome, man. We'll have him back later on in the season to see how the hell our fantasy teams are going.
Exactly.
Can't wait.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Zach. We got more to get to here with the Commanders preseason game number 2 coming up. All right, Believe in Commanders podcast. Got Jackson and Anthony Armstrong, part of Believe Network, and we are brought to you by FanDuel. Please like, comment, and follow as we continue here in this episode. Getting ready for the Lions on Saturday noon kickoff. A weird time for a preseason game, isn't it? Like right in the smack dab. The Commanders have one of these a year for some reason. Always these like either a noon or 1 o'clock preseason game, and preseason game number 2.
Yeah, a little brunch and ball going on right here, man. 11 o'clock kickoff here in Texas. This is like it's like Pee Wee League ball, man. It's like you're out there with your tent and your orange slices and man, watching your kids maybe participate. But they may also be picking flowers, you know what I mean? But man, injuries are here. Injuries
there are a lot of them.
A foot, an ankle, a hamstring, you name it. They're going on all across the league and a lot in Commanders Park, Commanders training camp. Scott, can you go down the laundry list of people who are out or missing practice?
Obviously, we know about Tunsil. Okay, the most serious injury, obviously, is the Johnny Newton one, pectoral, just had surgery. going to miss a significant period of time in a year where it feels like the timer is speeding up for him in year 3. And for him to miss time is really, really unfortunate. And, Daron Payne has also been sidelined here a little bit, probably not going to practice. They're calling it a minor play, I should say, Saturday. He was out today with a minor injury. Rashad White with the hamstring you mentioned earlier when we were doing our fantasy hit, out with a hammy as well. He's not going to play this week. You've got, obviously, guys working on the side today. When we're taping this, like Jordan McGee was there today on the side. Also, McNichols, Tim Settle, who's been out for a bit now. Nick Allegretti had to leave practice early yesterday after returning because of a calf stiffness. Dan Quinn downplayed, the severity of it, but still, it's not good, right? When you're coming back from something and you're feeling pain somewhere else. They said the MRI was fine. Let me see, who else am I forgetting? Jason also was walking around with a brace on his knee, did not practice. Obviously, Mariota's out for the rest of the preseason. So those just the main guys. That all being said, Dan Quinn did not shut the door on the idea of playing starters on Saturday against the Lions. And, last game, obviously, they played a few starters. They played the left side of the line with Coleman and Chris Paul. And then, of course, the linebackers, Sonny Styles and Leo Chanel. But it would be interesting if they could get, some time for some of the starters on defense, some of the other starters on offense. Maybe, I don't know if you'd see Terry and Diggs, but maybe at least Jayden for a bit out there with Chig and, maybe the other group of receivers. I don't know, or maybe Terry would get some reps.
I would like to.
Yeah.
I think you need to get that out, that offense on the road at some point. And then the thing is too, Detroit is a team that you're going to likely have to see later on down the line. I'm not saying that this is a playoff game or playoff atmosphere, but it's kind of good let's see our good versus their good, right? I don't know their injury status. You can check out Believe in Lion. It's got Glover Quinn on there, and Lomas Brown. You can go check those guys out. Like Aiden Hutchinson going across the board against against a Josh Connerly. Like, we want to see those matches. We want to see good on good and see how you
Brandon Coleman,
how you match up against that. I want to see how you can address those challenges right now, and do it in the preseason where we can make the mistakes, and then you can very easily make a substitution. But I don't want you to continue to run from the opportunities to go out there and challenge yourself. You know what I mean? Like, just because somebody's out, like, damn it, week 1 somebody could be out. We're not going to not suit up. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, eventually you got to get out there. I've been on board with how they handle the injuries and how they try to, try re-aggravating things. But maybe it's that time in training camp where it's like, the fact is, like, there's a guy on the roster right now. I don't know the name, but there's a guy on the roster right now who's like, man, my calf is tight too, but I can't skip that rep. I can't go into the training room and report. I got to push through it. So I understand, I get it, but sometimes I need my guys to get back on the field, and that's going to be a conversation that they got to have. And I say, hey man, come on, let's get going.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, if they do go with Jayden and Croskey-Merritt, guys like that, it doesn't seem like Allegretti would be playing this week. Would they dare put Matt Gulbin, at center, the rookie who played pretty well last week? And again, granted, it wasn't against the ones. Would it be interesting to see if they try to do that, or if they would try to, stick with more of the veteran look with Good Jones there or not? But anyway, however they handle it, they're going to have to. They got, like you said, they might have to go that way in week 1. Let's see how they all look together, and even if it's just a series or 2, that gets your legs under you. Because I know everybody says these coaches swear by these joint practices, but it's not the same thing for the quarterback. I mean, I saw throws that Willis made a couple weeks ago that Jayden made. The plays would have been dead. Same with Mariota. The plays would have been over. But, everybody was excited they connected. Well, the play would have been dead because he'd have been sacked, or he would have had it grounded. Or, it doesn't give the quarterback a real feel for it. And this, Aaron Rodgers isn't on this team, or somebody like Tom Brady, you know what I mean? They've done this a million times, and it's just like they wake up and they can do it. I mean, Jayden's still a young quarterback. He didn't play much last year. I mean, so I'm not against it. I know everybody's going to be clutching their pearls if he does play, but he's going to have to be exposed at some point. I mean, what do you draft players for? Not to play them? I mean, it's kind of silly. We have to do this conversation every offseason about what's safe and what's not safe in football anymore. I mean, like, none of it's safe. It's football, damn it. I mean, it's not safe.
Week one is going to be here. I don't even want to say that it's not safe. It's just like you said, it's just football. Hell, you can get a concussion. You get a concussion doing a header in soccer. You get what I mean? And respectfully, there are people who hold their kids out for that exact reason. Sure. And it's not to lessen the importance of head injuries and things of that nature. But
I'm not asking them to go to Oklahoma drill practice, but they do need to have the real feel of the game in that setting at some point before week one, in my opinion. But they may not. They may not.
Speak of week one, though, Scott, FanDuel has spread it out a little bit more. It's 5.5 points. Woo! So before it was 4.5. Now it's 5.5. With all the injuries and things that you're having.
Tunsil being out, I can see that.
Yeah, but one of the biggest things that we underestimate too, Scott, is that the lights will be on, right? Yep. The fans will be in the stands. There's going to be a guy looking like a lion, all right, with silver and Pontiac blue on his face, yelling at you young quarterbacks. And Matt Goldman, he's going back to Michigan. He was up in Michigan State. So, like, one of the things that don't translate from the joint practices, right? Joint practices is just a little bit more heat, a little more anger. Hell, you saw the Cowboys and Saints had more fights and punches thrown than the Conor McGregor fight, okay? So, like, that was a hell of a skirmish.
Right.
But now you're playing on the field. The TV lights are on. How do you handle it out there, right? Can't nobody come and save you when you run in 15-play drive. That's what we want to look for. And I need to see my team do this because the team is so young. And with the season that they're coming off of, Scott, it really needs to be at least the first unit offense and first unit defense getting out there for a couple series.
And look, they practiced longer. I think they've practiced harder this camp. I think there has been an intentional difference by Dan Quinn because he didn't want what happened last year to happen again. He's putting him through a lot of situational stuff, that they struggled with last year. So I think they've had a good approach. And yeah, man, these injuries happen. Unfortunately, two of them are serious, Tunsil and Newton. But again, those happen in practice, I mean, that's what happens. So, so you got to get them out in the field and play games and get a rhythm with these two, very new offenses and a very new offense and a very new defense. Yep. All right. Well, next week we'll talk about whatever they end up doing on Saturday, among other things, and hopefully no more injuries as well. For Anthony Armstrong, number 13 at Rated Armstrong on the X and on the Instagram. I'm Scott Jackson. Follow me at Jackson Sports on Twitter, at Real Jackson Sports on the gram. Till next time, please like, comment, follow Believe in Commanders, part of the Believe Network, and we are brought to you by FanDuel.
Peace out.